What's up, guys? Got the intro workout carbs.
What's going on there, friends? Here we have a little 4th of July leg day that me, Max, and Kirsten hit together because they had the day off work. It all happens that we all kind of hit legs on Tuesdays right now. So I got up early, got my coaching done for the day. They got up really late. We all got our meals in, went and grabbed some energy drinks and headed out to the garage. I coach everybody shown in this video, so I can give you some insight as to what everybody is doing, what their objectives are and whatnot. Here you can see Max and I warming up on the squat. Max is currently doing a kind of rapid rehab from a very minor back injury, but it happened at the very beginning of his meet prep, so we're kind of playing it by ear. He's working his way up to a very conservative top single of 575 pounds. Which is a weight normally Max wouldn't even start his singles that light, but we've increased his weekly jumps so we can start these a little bit lighter and kind of feel out how his back is doing. So the plan for the day was to work up to that 575, kind of ask him how his back felt, hit 2 back offs at 5 plates, trying to rack where we were saying RPE 8 in the spreadsheet, but there was a verbal communication between Max and I that really meant let's just try to work within the range we think is smart, given that we are coming back from that small back tweak. Thankfully, it's really easy when I'm there for some direct oversight. I can just tell him, rep until I tell you to rack it. I am working my way up to a top rep set at 555 pounds. Max will generally be training his squats for singles. I will usually be training mine for reps. Just a bit of a difference between strongman and powerlifting training. And then you can also see that difference in our technique. Max does a wider stance, much lower bar position, kind of traditional powerlifting style squat. I do more of a high bar, narrower stance. I like to say almost weightlifting style squat. I was making some pretty bad errors today. Oh, here's Max's top set, taking his time setting up. His hand placement out of this rack is a little goofy because he's right on the catches. So he has to kind of use some tips and tricks to get his hands into position, but he's kind of figured that out. This moved really well. This is not a heavy weight for Max. For those of you not familiar, Max is my little brother. He is around a 350 kilos, so around a 770 pounds, 760 pound squatter. Very, very good power lifter. Here is me scuffing these pretty bad. I was playing around with opening at my hips a little bit less than I have in the past, driving my knees more into a forward neutral position. And the product of messing around with it was me concluding that was a bad idea. Not opening at my hips just left me in a worse position to effectively utilize my legs, kind of over demanded on my back for a high bar squat. Hit the 555 for 6. Didn't feel too good. I'm tired of being a bad squatter, let me tell you guys. I am hell-bent on fixing this. I'm not accepting it. You guys are not going to hear me say, oh, woe is me. I'm so bad at squatting, but I'm going to fix this. I'm starting to get really annoyed about it, so I'm going to dump some extra training economy into it, even if it isn't smart, because damn, I'm tired of being bad at squatting. So here is Max hitting some back-off sets at 495 pounds, so 5 plates. Like I said, the original program was to rep these until approximately RPE 7 to 8. Max is a very experienced athlete with 10 years of powerlifting specific training under his belt. So we built his program to call upon his training intuition quite a bit. But that being said, I was there for this session. So I was just telling him, hey, if you feel like you want to rack it because of your back, rack it, or I'll tell you when to rack it. I chose to do a back off at the same weight. For my pause squats, where I did 5 plates for a set of 6. Really not very good. I've paused 5 plates for a set of 10. Squat strength isn't feeling too good right now, but you got to take the good with the bad. My deadlifting feels good. My pressing feels good. My benching feels good. All around, as you become more of an advanced athlete, especially for powerlifters, I kind of always tell people, hey, if 2 of 3 of your lifts is going well, you're doing a good job. If 3 of 3 is going well, enjoy it while it lasts. You're a stud. That's a miracle. Have a lot of fun. And if 1 is going well, that's a sign we probably need to up our outside the gym efforts or improve our programming or improve our sleep, all of these types of things. And if none are going well, man, we really got to get our shit together. So right now, most of my training metrics are going well. Squats are just the one that feels a little bit off. They just feel janky. So I can't really complain. And here's Kirsten showing up late to the party. Kirsten takes so long to warm up. It is absolutely crazy. But this was actually a pretty big session for her. It's just a regular week of training. She's doing the Strongman contest with me. So no real meaning behind this particular session other than it was going to be her first chance to attempt a goal she has had for a long time, which is 2 plates for a set of 8 on the squat. That's kind of something she's had in the back of her head. The load that the percentage called for this week was 2 plates. I told her she could fudge her RPE a little bit as long as she backed off on her back off sets to make the average difficulty of the session around where it would normally be, rather than overshooting our top set and then doing the back offs as planned, and then suddenly we see this rapid spike in the overall difficulty of the session. That's probably not wise. Every now and then, I think number chasing can be okay, but you don't want to be doing it on a weekly basis because usually your form is going to run away on you. But every now and then, going a little harder to hit a goal you've had in mind is absolutely okay. And if anything, it can kind of build a skill of how to do difficult reps, how to dig deep. You just kind of don't want to be the person that's doing it all the time. Do I have anything else to say about that? Yeah, and then as long as you take a little bit of difficulty away from your back downs, so that the sum difficulty of the session looks a little bit more normal, and so we don't overaccumulate fatigue where we weren't originally intended to in the program. Here's some good mornings. I do these a little bit of a weird way where my knees stay a little bit more forward than most. Most people are looking for a bit more of a stiff leg position, a little bit more backwards knee travel. I've been messing around with doing them this way because I'm not too concerned with hitting the hamstrings. It's more about developing kind of isometric erector strength, and they've been doing a pretty good job. Continue to mess around with those. I definitely think I still have a bit to go before I master those. There was Kirsten's potentiation set, so when she's taking a higher rep set like this, she'll take what we used to call it getting a touch, touching the weight. Now with the RP guys and a little bit more scientific, wording, the terminology you hear used is like a potentiation set, where you just hit 2 or 3 at that work set to kind of adapt to the weight, not enough to really tire you out, and hopefully bolster your progress more than if you just went into that top set right away. So as you can see, set was hard, and she was freaking out afterward, being like, oh, those were so ugly, those were so bad. I felt these fell within a pretty reasonable margin of breakdown, right? As we approach really high intensities, there's going to be some breakdown. In effective training, there's going to be some breakdown. Now, there's probably a point where we're regularly drilling too much, and that's definitely a real thing. But that being said, like I talked about in the video yesterday, some people hold themselves to such a strict standard in terms of never having any breakdown that they fail to ever apply sufficient intensity. Here's Max doing some really, really light RDLs. These were something that was kind of hard on his back, so that means we're doing them. We're going to try to build up some, robustness there. But we're going to ease into them. Obviously, we really don't want to retweak the back doing a secondary motion like an RDL. So I told him, hey, let's do, like straight sets on limited rest intervals. Let's try to make lighter weights a little bit more difficult. Here's Max doing the leg extension that we are inevitably going to break. Me doing some seated calf raises to try to get the concrete out of my ankles. And then Kirsten and I are doing some rack pulls. Don't worry, this bar is already bent. Kirsten and I are doing some rack pulls because in our upcoming Strongman show, we have a elevated height deadlift for Max. We're actually pulling from below the competition height to make it a little bit better of a training stimulus. And as we get closer to the contest, we're going to raise it up. But every week after our squats on this session, we've been doing some elevated height pulls. Here is my top set. By this point, I was pretty spent. I just didn't have enough gas in the tank to do a really good job with this set, but I got fired up and got after it anyway and got a massive nosebleed. I promise my blood pressure's okay. I check it every morning. It was like 119 over 75 or something, not too bad. But every time it starts getting dry here in Montana, I'll get a nosebleed in the middle of the night and then in the morning and then when I train, and then I get used to it, and then winter rolls around and the same thing happens all over again. But it was a big one. It was a pretty big one. Max and Kirsten thought it was pretty funny. My nose had been bleeding all morning, so I kind of knew this was coming. If I was a smarter guy, I would have tossed down a towel there ahead of time to save myself some cleanup. But it looked kind of funny. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you as always.
We're not hitting the